919fm.com. Here's what's happening.
Good afternoon. I am Vanessa Thomas with the 4 o'clock news on the street, 919 FM, and online Facebook and YouTube. In the headlines, the Prime Minister still awaiting a report on yesterday's nationwide blackout. OWTU leader says workers had nothing to do with yesterday's blackout. Businesses lose millions in potential sale because of what happened yesterday. And internationally, the U.S. says there is evidence that Russia is moving towards an imminent invasion on Ukraine. And now the news in detail. Following yesterday's nationwide blackout for close to 12 hours in many parts of the island, Public Utilities Minister Marvin Gonzalez has stated that up until this morning he did not receive a formal response on the matter, as the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission was still in the process of compiling a formal report for him, as well as the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. Speaking this afternoon, Minister Gonzalez said, however, that the Commission is currently working on a preliminary report on the incident based on their investigation. He said, based on information he received so far at this time, the reason for the blackout remains a fault line problem. In other news, the President General of the Oilfield Workers Trade Union is categorically denying workers' involvement in yesterday's nationwide power outage. It follows claims that the blackout was deliberately caused in response to the government's impending vaccine mandate policy. Speaking at a virtual press conference this morning, Ansel Roger commended workers from both the power generation company of TNT and the TNTech for their efforts in ensuring electricity was restored. He said while an investigation will have to be done to determine what caused the outage, he was certain there was no sabotage by workers. In more news, businesses in TNT yesterday lost millions of dollars in sales as they suffered from a lack of power caused by the national blackout. Chief Executive Officer of the Trinidad Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Ian D'Souza, said that while it is difficult to quantify, it is obvious that the extent of loss of sales and opportunity would have cost businesses millions. D'Souza said the economic cost will be considerable given the situation where many businesses were unable to operate yesterday, and the reality for most business involved in retail or even manufacturing, you need to be able to have access to communication like the internet and WhatsApp. Meanwhile, President of the Arima Business Association, Christian Rampersad, said while it was impossible to quantify the losses, businesses in the borough would have been severely affected due to significant opportunity loss. According to a release from TNTech, at approximately 12:50 p.m. yesterday, there was a major disturbance on the electricity system, which disrupted supply to customers in Trinidad. The cause of the problem was at the time unknown. Internationally, the United States says evidence of Ukraine's border shows that Russia is moving towards an imminent invasion and is not withdrawing troops despite Moscow's claim. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Russia was laying the groundwork to justify starting a war and preparing to launch an attack on Ukraine in the coming days, urging Moscow to change course at a tense United Nations Security Council meeting Thursday. The comments from Blinken and other top U.S. officials Thursday, including President Joe Biden's blunt warning that he believed an attack would happen within the next several days. The U.S. Secretary of State changed his travel plans so he could speak at Thursday's UN meeting, where the top U.S. diplomat said he was detailing U.S. intelligence about Russia's attempts to fabricate a pretext for an invasion in an attempt to influence Russia to abandon the path of war and choose a different path while there's still time. And that was the 4 o'clock news on the street, 919 FM, and online Facebook and YouTube. Recapping the headlines, the Prime Minister still awaiting a report on yesterday's nationwide blackout. OWTU leader says workers had nothing to do with yesterday's blackout. Businesses lose millions in potential sales because of what happened yesterday, and internationally, the U.S. says there is evidence that Russia is moving towards an imminent invasion on Ukraine. Do enjoy your afternoon and continue to be safe. I am Vanessa Thomas. Miss Aisha Wells, the Queen of Talk, she's up next.
street. News from the street. 919fm.com.
Oh gosh. Man, I'm just a stranger in a crowded place. And me cooler and regain. Hoping to find someone with a familiar face, so we could fit and celebrate. This is not the time to be alone. This is the time to wind on a bumper. So let's be amazing, by amazing. What you carry the one that we get from starting, yeah. I want you to charm on somebody now, hold on somebody now, keep them company. I want you to charm on somebody now, hold on somebody now, make them your family. Yeah, let me mash up the place of London. Let me walk up, we walk up, we walk up.